so excited today to be talking about my trip to Thailand with EF Ultimate Break. I just got back. I spent a few more weeks in Southeast Asia after, which you will see in my upcoming videos. But before we get to that, I want to talk all things Thailand. I've had some time to process the trip. I was taking notes while I was on the trip, so I am ready to discuss all things Thailand. So this was the Thailand Island Paradise trip, the longest trip they offer. It's 22 days. You go to 7 different cities. It's absolutely incredible. If you, disclaimer, this will cover the entire Thailand Island Paradise trip, but if you are going on any of other EF Ultimate Break Thailand trips, you can cut to the places in this video where I cover the cities that you're going to. So if you are going on the shorter Thailand getaway trip, just watch the first half of this, which covers Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Phuket. If you're going on the southern Thailand trip that covers like Phuket, Krabi, and Bangkok, watch those parts. It all has the same itinerary, so just cut to the parts that cover the trip that you're going on. Or if you're lucky like me and you get to go on the long Thailand trip, this will cover everything that you need to know. I think if you can get the PTO or time off of your life or whatever, or if you have a break from school and you have the budget to do it, it is so worth doing the longer Thailand trip. Like, some of my favorite parts of the trip were at the end, like Koh Phangan, Koh Tao, the parts that aren't covered on a lot of the other Thailand trips. So it is so worth it to do the longer one if you can. If not, it's no secret that Thailand is one of my absolute favorite countries. If you can even go for just a week, it is so worth it. Okay, so let's get into it. This was my second time in Thailand. I went on this trip in late October, early November. It was the end of rainy season. We didn't have too much rain, and I fell even more in love with the country this time. So like I said, this was a 22-day trip. We went all over the country. In our group, we had 18 people. The age range was like 18 or 19. I forgot how young the youngest one was, to 31. So it was a good range. We all honestly got along. Like, you couldn't really tell who was the oldest, who was the youngest. It was just a good group overall. And I think you're like, when you do a longer trip, you're gonna get a cool group of people who's like willing to explore and have a good time, especially on a trip like Thailand where you're doing a lot of the beaches and there's like good parties and stuff. So we got really lucky with my group. This was definitely one of my top 5 EF tours. It was my 10th tour with EF Ultimate Break, which is absolutely crazy. Definitely in the top 5, probably top 3. So I highly recommend it. I don't have very many like negative things to say. Honestly, it's mostly positive. I'm gonna walk through each destination on its own, talk about like the hotels, the activities we did. But honestly, it was like the perfect trip. We did pretty much the first week in Bangkok and Chiang Mai is for like the culture part of Thailand. I enjoyed it. So like I said, this was my second time in Thailand. I had been to Bangkok and Chiang Mai before, but everything we did was different than what I did the first time I was there. So it was really cool. And I think that EF puts together a very unique itinerary that you could replicate on your own, but it's not as easy to do. So that was the first week, was all culture. And then the second 2 weeks were a lot of boat rides, beaches, partying. It was so fun. It was like the perfect balance. The first week is so fun, but by the end of it, you're like, all right, let's get to the beach, all that stuff. So one more thing before I get into the city by city breakdown. I went in late October, early November. It was the end of rainy season. We did get a little rain, but it wasn't that bad at all. We actually got really lucky. Some of the islands and towns were flooding, but not while we were there. So just keep that in mind, that the best time to go is probably from like December to April. Even though the closer to April you get, the hotter it gets. Last time I was in Thailand, it was in March and it was so hot. So you're gonna have to like choose whether you want to deal with the rain, deal with the heat. Probably the best time to go is like December to February, even though that's peak season, so it is going to be the most expensive time to go too. So one more thing, based on the time of year you go, make sure you pack like an umbrella. A lot of the hotels do provide umbrellas, but they're like these super long ones that you can't easily like fold up and you have to carry them for like the whole night or day or whatever. And if you are not an average sized person, like I am not the smallest person, not the biggest person, but I could not find clothes that fit me in Thailand. So make sure you pack everything that you need unless you're like smaller, because you will not be able to find clothes that fit you in Thailand very easily. So if you need a rain jacket, if you need extra pants, if you need a hoodie or something, make sure you bring those with you, because if you are average American size or bigger, you will not be able to easily shop there. I just wanted to note that. If you watch my videos, you know I was running out of pants while I was there, and it was a struggle to find more. So just keep that in mind. Pack for the weather depending on what time of year you're going. Okay, now let's get into a city by city breakdown. First was Bangkok. We Had 3 nights there. We had an overnight flight from the US. That was night 1. And then 3 nights in Bangkok. We stayed at the Acai Bangkok Chinatown Hotel. I absolutely loved it there. The staff was so nice. The breakfast was good. And the location was perfect. I absolutely love Bangkok's Chinatown. It has great street food. It's in a great location, so you could get anywhere in the city. Our hotel was connected to a huge mall, so you can shop, get food, get massages, get your nails done, all that good stuff. It was really good, and it's easy to find like Thai massages and stuff just like wandering the streets of Chinatown. So the first full day we were there, we did a whole day of temples. I really enjoyed it. You will see like the highlights of Bangkok in that day. And then the second day we were there, we did the floating markets. It was a cool experience. I wouldn't recommend shopping there if you're going on this trip because it's like a little overpriced because it's such a touristy thing to do, and the boat drivers are a little pushy. I think they might get commission from like some of the salespeople because they'll like direct your boat to like certain sellers and stuff. So it was like a cool experience, but definitely not the best place to do your souvenir shopping and stuff in Thailand, just to note that. It was still cool though. I'm glad we got to do it. And then that night, my tour director, Mickey, shout out Mickey, he is the best. He put together an optional street food tour for us. It was completely free, which was super nice. We got to try a bunch of different food. Yeah, absolutely loved it. Great time in Bangkok, great intro to the city. There's so much you could do there, but I feel like you really see the highlights on this. So then the next day, day 5, we flew early to Chiang Mai, where we had a full day of exploring and spent 3 nights there. We stayed at the Cross Vibe Chiang Mai Dasim. It was another great hotel, kind of outside of like the city center, Old Town, but it was still a great area. Only a 5-minute walk to 7-Eleven, which was a lot after having a 7-Eleven in our basement in Bangkok, the basement of our hotel, but still close. You could still get everything you need. There's a mall like 10 minutes away. They had a good breakfast, a great happy hour, very cheap, and the pool was like okay, but it was still fun for us to hang out at. So the day we arrived in Chiang Mai, we did a monk chat. We went to a temple. We did a traditional Thai dance. Super fun day. Again, a lot of cultural stuff, but it's still fun. Like, you're still at the beginning of your trip. You have a lot of energy, even though it is a lot of go, go, go. It's fine. The next day we did the elephant sanctuary. It is called an ethical elephant sanctuary because you do not feed, you do not pet, you do not touch, you do not bathe the animals. We still got very close to them, so I was like a little surprised by that because of how much they said it was like ethical. I think that ethical is just subjective at this point, but it was still cool to see. And I'm glad we went. After that, you either had a free evening or you got to do the optional home visit. It was $100 and 13 out of 18 of us went on that. I think it was a really cool experience. If you have something else you want to do in Chiang Mai instead, I would probably do that. But if you have nothing better to do, like, I think it was a lot of fun. I definitely recommend signing up for it. Like, it's nothing crazy, but you get like a good dinner. You get to see how like one of the local people live. So that was cool. And then on our second full day in Chiang Mai, we went to Mae Kampong village, which is like up in the hills of Chiang Mai, like outside of the city. So that was cool as well. Good shopping. We did like a hike. We got a super good lunch that day. We got to do like the banana leaves and stuff. And then that night, my tour director put on an optional, well, he didn't put it on. That night, my tour director took us to an optional Muay Thai fight, which was so worth it. Even if you're like, oh, why do I want to watch people fight? Like, it's just a great time, especially if you just want to like hang with your group, have a few beers. You can go out into the market that's outside like the arena and get street food and bring it in. Like, it's super chill. So that was a lot of fun. Enjoyed Chiang Mai. So that was stuff I'd been to those places before, but I hadn't done any of that. So it was super cool that EF put together like a pretty unique itinerary for that like wasn't what I had done the first time I was there, that the internet like told me to do. That was like all the super popular stuff. So I enjoyed that. So that was the first week of the trip. Then we flew to Phuket. We had 3 nights there. Definitely not my favorite place. It was exciting to be somewhere new, like new for me. It was nice to be by the beaches. It's absolutely beautiful, but it has like a weird vibe. I won't really get into it, but if you know some of like more icky stuff that goes on in Thailand, it's very like prevalent there. So you just have to be like mindful of that, and mindful of like watching your drinks and just not getting involved in any of the stuff that goes on, like ping pong shows and stuff. Don't do any of that. It's very unethical, very bad for the people involved. So in Phuket, we stayed at the Best Western Patong Beach. Great location. It was super easy to walk to all the nightlife, clubs, great food nearby. The beach was only like a 10 or 15 minute walk. It had a very good rooftop pool. However, the vibes were like kind of off there. Like, it seemed like some like cheap family, like a lot of families there. It just wasn't the vibe for like an 18 to 35-year-old trip, but it was a good location and all the activities we did there were super fun. So when we arrived, we just had a free day. We were all like exhausted, so we just like chilled. The first full day we were there, we had the Koh Phangan boat day, which is a completely full day of being on a boat, canoeing. This was the one, if you go back and watch my Phuket video, the guys are like taking us around on these kayaks. We were doing karaoke on the boat. It was so much fun. It's included on the Thailand Island of Paradise tour. I think for some of the other Thailand trips, it's an optional. Do it, you will not regret it. It's like, it was easily one of everyone's favorite days. Even though it's a full day there, you don't need to spend that time in Phuket. Trust me. You do not need extra time in Patong. Go on the boat day. That was a lot of fun. And then our second full day in Phuket, we had a complete free day. My tour director put on an optional, it was like a ladyboy cabaret show. I think everyone went except for 5 of us, and they said it was fun. They were just really sleepy and stuff. And then we went to the club after that. Illusion, so much fun. Go to Illusion if you're in Phuket. But yeah, Phuket, not the best vibe, but we still had fun there. And then we drove to Krabi. Phuket is an island, but it's connected to the mainland. That's why we could drive. That confused a lot of people. So we spent 3 nights there at the Centaur Life Pupano Resort in Krabi. The location was fine. It wasn't close to the beach or anything, but you could still get to like 7-Eleven, food, all the stuff you would need. The pool was really nice there. I spent a lot of time there. On the day we arrived, it was a lot of driving, but then that night, my tour director put on an optional like sunset dinner at Hilltop, which is a restaurant overlooking like the whole city and the water. And we had the most perfect orange, beautiful sunset there. So worth going. And the food was pretty good. Or you can just have your night free to do whatever. If you don't have Mickey, he might not, your tour director might do something different. But then the next day, our first full day in Krabi, we had an optional PP Islands day trip. Everyone went. We went on a speedboat. We went snorkeling, swimming. We had lunch included. We got to spend some time at the beach. That cost $105. It was worth it. Go. Very cool. A lot of fun. Everyone loves a good boat day, especially when you're in in southern Thailand. So then the next day we had a free day, but there were 2 optional activities. The first one was the Ban Nai Nang community visit that cost $70. Quite a few people in our group signed up. I think like half of the group out of 18, but only 4 people ended up going because by that point in the trip, everyone was just so exhausted that people didn't want to wake up at 8 a.m. for this community visit. But the 4 people that went said they had a good time. So if it's something that interests you, and you don't think you'll need the rest time, or you can get the rest time some other time in like Phuket or something, definitely go. But if it's not interesting to you, like this is day like 12 at this point. So if it's not something that interests you, maybe take it as a free morning. The other optional excursion was a nighttime cooking class. So you can do both if you want. You can do one, you could do neither. So that one cost $65. 13 people signed up, 11 ended up making it. Again, some people were just tired or sick at that point. I really enjoyed the cooking class. It was like the perfect mix of you doing your own cooking and choosing what you want to make and what you want to put in your dishes and stuff, and kind of like doing it as a group. So it's a good mix of like hands-on and a good group activity, which was fun. So then we drove and then took a ferry to Koh Samui. We spent 2 nights there. That is where they filmed the White Lotus. This was the special White Lotus edition of the trip. I don't think they're going to do this again, but it's basically the same as the Thailand trip. We just did a few things White Lotus focused, and which we really did on Koh Samui since that's where they filmed a lot of the show. We stayed at the Centaur Life Lamai Resort Samui. Same brand as the one in Krabi. Again, super nice. Good location, right by the beach, right by a bunch of restaurants. The pool was nice. We had a lot of fun at the pool. The breakfast was good. So when we got there after the ferry, we had a free afternoon. We all just went and got lunch, hung at the pool, spent some time at the beach, and then we had an optional dinner that my tour director put together at Arc Bar, which is where we were supposed to see a fire show and like go clubbing over there and stuff on that part of the island. Unfortunately, it was rainy, so the fire show got canceled and we just called it an early night, but we still had fun. The next day, which was our only full day in Koh Samui, we had an optional Ang Thong Island visit. That one cost $120. Everyone went. So this one, if you watched my Krabi video, if you watched my Koh Samui video, you know that excursion absolutely sucked. We all hated it. It was like super, like it just was not worth $120. However, we found out later that the national park was just closed for 2 weeks, and it just happened to be while we were there. So that was not the excursion that we went on was not the normal one. So if you're going on this trip, I think the excursion is generally liked. It was just bad timing while we were there. We couldn't go. I would not recommend whatever we did. It was awful. What's annoying is that EF didn't tell us that the excursion was changing, so we didn't have a choice to like get our money back and have a free day instead, which was really annoying. Like, I'm still kind of annoyed about it because it just like wasn't fun, and it just was not worth $120 if you saw that video. But as long as the national park is open and you go on what the actual excursion is, I've seen videos, it looks really fun, I've heard good things, you should go on it. But for us, we did not have a good time. Just keep that in mind. But that night we went to the Four Seasons where they filmed the White Lotus, and we got dinner, which was super cool. The food was pretty good. The service was incredible. It was so cool to see the place where they filmed a lot of the show, and they showed us, so we got to eat where they filmed some of the meals, which was like the breakfast area in the show. Then they took us to the pool. We got drinks by the pool bar, and one of the girls who, like, one of our waitresses was there while they filmed, helping like just on the resort side of things. So she was telling us a little bit about the show and what it was like having it filmed there. So that was super cool. Again, very unlikely that you'll be able to do that. We were just lucky with the timing of that because it was the off season. So that was cool. And it only cost me like $45 for dinner, which wasn't bad at all. So that was cool. And then the next day we were up early. We drove and then took a ferry to Koh Tao, where we were at for 2 nights. Koh Tao was easily my favorite place on this trip. I wish we had more than 2 nights there. We stayed at the Surrey Hut Resort, which was right on the beach, like the main beach there, like literally on the beach. I loved the resort. However, there were some bugs. I think that was just like the location of it, and Koh Tao is not a very developed island, but they were like, if you just get over that, if you're not a very squeamish person, like we just killed all the bugs in our room, it was fine. They had a nice pool. It was literally on the beach, which was so nice. We got to watch the sunset the one night. And then the one night we did a pub crawl as well, and we were only like 5 minutes from that, so that was nice to just be able to walk home after the pub crawl. So when we got there, we had a free afternoon. We did the pub crawl that night, which I would recommend, and then the next day we had an included all-day snorkeling trip. So fun. This was the one time on the trip that we didn't have the boat where it was just our group, so we were sharing with other people, but it didn't matter. It was like, that was one of my favorite days of the whole trip. We got to snorkel a few different times, so we pretty much just went all around Koh Tao and made different stops around the island. Snorkeling, swimming, we got to swim with sea turtles, baby sharks. So cool. That's included. It was so worth it. I don't think any of the other Thailand trips other than Island Paradise include Koh Tao and this excursion. So that's part of why I am pushing the longer trip so much, but I'm just so glad we got to do that. It was so cool. Then that night, we just had a free night. We got some dinner, nothing crazy. There was a really nice sunset that night, and then the next morning we had the morning free until about 2 o'clock, where before we had to leave the island. So some of us just got like massages and lunch. It was nothing crazy. So final stop, then we drove to the ferry port, took a ferry, and then drove to our hotel on Koh Phangan. We stayed at the Koh Samui Beach Resort. This was my least favorite part of the trip. I did not really like this island. So this is the island where the full moon party takes place, which was one of my favorite things like ever for the whole trip. But where we were staying on the island, it's like a circle. We were staying up here. There's like nothing to do up here on the northwest part of the island, and then the full moon party was all the way down here, so we had to drive like an hour to get to the party, which was crazy. I don't know, there was just nothing where we were, so we had to eat at the resort's restaurant every night, which got old because there were like a couple of restaurants around us, but they were all closed because it was like the off season. It was just like a very remote part of the island that I did not like, and we were there for 3 nights, and the food wasn't that good. It was kind of overpriced for what it was. Like I was just over it by the end of it. But I did really enjoy the full moon party. That was one of the highlights of the trip as well. And the pool at the resort was really nice. I will give them that. We had a free night when we got there, a free day the next day until we went to the full moon party. We stayed up partying all night there. Then we had another free day. Again, a lot of free time with like nothing to do. And you can go off on the island and do some hikes. You can go to different beaches. However, Grab does not work on this island. There is like a monopoly on the taxis in Koh Phangan, so it takes like an hour to get a taxi, and then they're like relatively expensive compared to what you've been paying for the rest of the trip. So it's just like annoying. It's just hard to get around. Like you can't just call a Grab when you want to go somewhere. And like by the end I was just like whatever. Like I felt like we were stuck at the resort, and then the resort wasn't even that good, and like the food was disappointing, but we still made the most of it. We had a lot of fun at the pool days. The full moon party was really good, and yeah, that's it. After that we just drove, took a ferry, drove again, flew, and then took a bus. A lot of things. We had to drive to the ferry port in Koh Phangan, take a ferry back to Koh Samui, fly from Koh Samui to Bangkok, and then that's where we spent our last night, back at the place we started at, the Acai Bangkok Chinatown. Overall, absolutely amazing trip. Like 10 out of 10 recommend. Like other than Koh Phangan in the hotel where we were like isolated, I absolutely love the trip. And then the optional in Koh Samui, you won't have to deal with that probably because the national park will be open. It just happened to not be open while we were there, and that was just like bad timing, bad luck on our part. But other than that, I absolutely love this trip. And most people, just to say, most people did like Koh Phangan and just having time to chill. I was just getting like so bored just sitting there, but that was just me. Most people did like it, so take that with a grain of salt. Overall, amazing trip. It was just like the perfect balance of like culture to islands and beaches and parties and boat days, and like the ferries weren't that bad. I do get motion sick, so I took quite a bit of like motion sickness medicine throughout the days, especially on boat and ferry days, but it was totally manageable. Overall, absolutely recommend this trip. And Thailand is a relatively cheap country, so once you get there, you're not spending much on like food or drinks. You can go get super cheap street food, especially in Bangkok, and even like drinks are cheap. So if you're like a partier, like you won't be spending that much compared to what you would spend in like some other places around the world. I didn't do a full budget breakdown for this one, but so if it wasn't clear by now, I absolutely love Thailand. Absolutely loved Thailand Island Paradise. I'm so glad I went on the longer one just to experience, especially Koh Tao and the full moon party. Even if you can only go on a shorter trip, Thailand is one of my absolute favorite countries, and I know a lot of people love it. So no matter what you can do, I highly recommend Thailand. Highly recommend a Thailand trip. Do the longer one if you can. If not, still go. It's an amazing part of the world. Southeast Asia is a ton of fun. The food is so good. The people are so nice. I cannot say enough good things about Thailand. I'm gonna wrap this up because I just talked for way too long. But if you have any questions about this trip, I have a link to my blog post in the description with a lot more information, the names of the hotels, our daily itinerary breakdown if you want a more detailed version. Or if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. You can also DM me on Instagram. It is the same name as my channel, at Exponential Travels. If you didn't watch all my vlogs of the trip, go watch those as well, because I talked a lot about how the experiences were, all the excursions, and you can actually see what we were doing every day. So make sure you go back and watch those. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, subscribe so you don't miss a thing. I have more Southeast Asia coming next week. I drop a new video every Thursday. So I will see you for more fun adventures next week. Bye.